And good evening, ladies, and afternoon and morning to anybody watching this on the replay, whatever time of day it is. Welcome and to the Menopause Mind Over Menopause webinar. So what we're doing today is we are talking a little bit about the menopause. I'm going to be giving you lots of little hints and little tips. We're taking a very quick let's say a whistle stop tour. God, I did pick a tongue twister, didn't I, to start with? A whistle stop tour of little snippets from parts of the whole of the training, the one-day training that I do with ladies like yourselves. Okay, does that make sense? And gentlemen, mustn't forget that, because I do training with gentlemen as well. So it's not just the ladies, mostly ladies, but I do this with men as well. So if you haven't met me before, I'm Helen Breward, and I am the creator, the author, the pioneer, whatever you want to call it, of the Menopause Relief Core Program, which actually now includes the work on the andropause, which is the male menopause as well. Now that we're not going to delve into that one too much, because that one is part of the training. But that is I'm just going to say that is a bit of a contentious topic. There are some men that say, yes, there is such a thing as the male menopause, and there are some men that say, no, there isn't. So, you know, I think there's cases, I think there is a case for it, but you have the information in the actual training to be able to help any men that come to you for other things, which is what's likely to happen, but you notice they do have some of the symptoms of the male menopause, which are very similar to the symptoms or some of the symptoms that women experience themselves.
Helen,
now, before
sorry,
yes.
can I say something that was quite alarming to me about a month, 5 weeks ago? Like yourself, I've been really poorly. I've been back and forth the doctor, seen loads of different doctors. And we had a new doctor in, and he was talking to me and asking me what I did. And I mentioned about andropause. And he said, oh,
Yeah.
what's that then? I said, well, sort of male menopause. Oh, is it? And I thought, my word, you're my GP. Sorry for interrupting, but I thought...
No, that's an interesting thing, because this is going back, it must be several years. In fact, it's quite a few years, because the actual program itself is almost 10 years old. In January, it will be 10 years old. And I have actually trained a number of doctors that are also hypnotherapists in this particular work. And every single one of them has said the same, that actually the information I've given them, the amount that I've taught them is more than they were taught when they did this in their training, which is very interesting, because I don't think they actually get or had then much in the way of training. It may have changed now for all I know, but that's just an interesting side from what you were just saying there. So before I became a hypnotherapist, I was, well, actually, way back as we were talking before, my original job when I first left school was a hairdresser. I trained to be a hairdresser. This is why we were talking about hair being, you know, not having to do your hair. Long after that, before I became a hypnotherapist, I was actually a school teacher, a primary school teacher. And, you know, which meant I taught those children from 5 to 11. And I actually preferred the little ones. I like the 6, 7-year-olds. Me and them, we're on that same wavelength, you know, and I think, you know, we connect, you know, their mind and my mind is just about the same level, and I love it. Because, you know, with children, they are perfect hypnosis. They can do hypnosis perfectly well, and they use their imagination. And I think that's what I like about the younger children, is because their imagination is right there, right with you. And that's what we use with hypnosis more than anything, is imagination. And as we know, imagination is much, much more powerful than willpower. Most people think, oh, well, I can't do this because I don't have the willpower. It's not the willpower you need, it's the imagination. And I think with children, you know, and I used to love reading stories to them. I used to make sure I did stories at least once a day with the little ones, because they'd sit there, and And they were right there in the story with you, which means for me personally, and I'm sure it's the same for other teachers as well, it's like taking all the constraints off. You can really get to town when they're, which is why I love telling stories and metaphors to clients. And I would say a good 99% of the stuff I do with clients has some sort of story or metaphor embroiled in it somewhere. Because I know fine well, if I tell somebody a story or a metaphor, it's going to bring out that little inner child without them realizing it, and it's going to engage the client even more. Does that make sense to everyone? Not every therapist works the same way. We all work differently. Not every therapist will use a story. Not every therapist will use a lot of metaphors, although we do tend to use a lot of metaphors, I think. But a lot of my work is based around storytelling, purely because I know it's a really good way of getting a concept over to the subconscious in a very engaging way, and it's going to sink in. That's why, and apart from the fact that I love telling stories, that's why I do it that way. So I was going to say I've been a hypnotherapist for 13 years. It is about 13 years, actually. It is. Yeah, it is coming up for 13 years. So I've done a lot of stuff since then. I have written a book on the menopause, My Menopause, My Way. This is a self-help book for those ladies who are not likely, that need help, but less likely to ask for help, if you understand. So in the book, there's lots of hints, there's lots of metaphors and stories, as you would imagine. There's hints, there's tips, there's strategies, there's all sorts of things in there to help those ladies through whatever it is that they're going through. So when we look at menopause, then we are looking at symptoms. Now, there is, at my last count, I found 42, I think it was 42 or 43 different symptoms of the menopause. So that's well over 40. It's roughly about right, because I know Boots were having last year, Boots, I think it was in October, because October is Menopause Awareness Month. And Boots, the chemist, were having a download our symptom thing, and there's over 40 symptoms of the menopause. It was part of their campaign that they were running. So there are a lot of things that women can experience, but women don't experience all of them, generally speaking. I have never come across anybody that's had all 42. And to be perfectly honest, I really, really hope nobody has ever had all of them. It's usually that people will experience a few of them. And what we work on is the common ones. Now, the most common one that you are likely to come across and be asked about are the hot flushes and the night sweats. Sleep is another one, but that is often linked to those night sweats. Because if you are being woken in the middle of the night, sweating, dripping with sweat, then it's going to disturb your sleep. If you eliminate your night sweats, then technically you are going to sleep better. Does that make sense? Which is why the core program that I run, which is the first one, focuses on the hot flushes and the night sweats, controlling them and eliminating a fair portion of them. In a lot of cases, women do a really good job of eliminating a massive amount of those hot flushes and those night sweats, just by using very simple techniques. People will also come to you about anxiety. Now, anxiety is an interesting one because it could be normal anxiety, as in life situations and, you know, things have got them very anxious at work. However, if they are menopausal or perimenopausal, that's the run into the menopause, then that could also be part of it. The hormonal change could be part of the anxiety. Equally, when ladies are going through menopause, and if their anxiety has been one of those things that started to come up, It can sometimes be too, what if I have a hot flush and I'm at work and I can't get out and I can't cool down and I go beetroot red, and it's the what ifs. Anxiety is always about the what ifs. What if I'm stuck in a meeting and I have a hot flush and it's dripping off my chin and I'm beetroot red and blah 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 blah. It's those what ifs. What if, and because what if I get really embarrassed? What if I can't find my words? Because sometimes when people have hot flushes, it can also stop them. It's like sometimes it's like stopping you dead in your tracks and your mind just stops. So for instance, one of the ladies that was on the trial, I did run a trial, oh God, way back when, beginning of 2015. And she used to run meetings. She was a HR consultant and she used to run meetings with lots of people, men and women, and she used to have the most horrendous hot flushes. Now, can you imagine being in that position? You're running a meeting, you're speaking, you've got, don't know, 20, 30 people in front of you, and all of a sudden you get this hot flush that literally freezes your brain. It's not a great place to be in. So you can see where some of the anxiety might come for some ladies. So if we again sort out the hot flushes or help the client, the individual, to take back control of those hot flushes and the night sweats, then we start to change the game for them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So mood swings are another thing that ladies often experience. And to be fair, I know we touched on the andropause as well. The symptoms that I'm talking about, men can experience these too. Generally speaking, if men experience them, they are usually less intense. With women, it's a great thing about us women, isn't it? We can be very much all nothing. And with the menopause, and I think this is purely because we go into it quite quickly. There's not a nice, long, slow decline into the menopause usually. It can be quite quick over a few years. Now, that does sound like a long time, but actually for the body, it's not. When you think about men, their decline in hormones starts in their 30s, in their early 30s. With women, we run and run and run till about roughly, I would say, round about 45, maybe slightly more. It is changing a little bit as everybody's progressing. But I would say roughly about 45 is a good age to pluck out, not to pluck out, but to use. We kind of go, oh, let's decline, right, let's go into menopause. So it's shorter and quicker. And I have no scientific proof, but I do believe that this is why we can experience symptoms so intensely. Now, not everybody does, but some people do. Okay, so for some people, what does a hot flush feel like? Because it feels differently for everybody. So for some people, it can be like an absolute volcano bursting from the inside, blowing up, spitting out the lot, dripping, wet, have to get changed, have to have a shower, those sorts of things. For others, it can be a little bit like a glow. I don't know whether any of you are old enough to remember years ago in the UK, we used to have, I'm talking about a lot of years ago now, probably the 80s actually, maybe even the 90s. There used to be an advert at winter called the Ready Break advert. And it used to be about this little boy, he'd eaten his Ready Break, and then he was walking off to school, and you saw him walking down the street, and he had this little glow around him. It can be a little bit like that for some people, for some ladies. And, for others, it's, how do they describe it? Tropical moment is a common one you will hear. So it's about helping them take control of those and the night sweats. because there used to be, I don't think it's so much now because we talk about it more now, but when I first started doing this, menopause wasn't talked about. Very hush, hush. Women stuff. Now we are much more open and we talk about it much more, and as the consequence of that, women are now becoming much more educated, much more knowledgeable about the menopause. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of things the average lady on the street doesn't know that we can teach them. Because this, for me, what I teach is a holistic approach. It's not a pure hypnosis, we use just hypnosis and that's it job. And to be fair, for me, it never is, because you cannot separate the mind and the body. It's a holistic approach, and this very much needs a holistic approach. There will be people that will say the absolute opposite to what I've said, and that's absolutely fine, but this is my perspective. So what we are teaching ladies is that there are things that they can do to control those hot flushes and those night sweats, to stop them. Because there are things that they are doing that will trigger some of those hot flushes and those night sweats. And this is the key factor that a lot of ladies don't know or understand, because it's that done to me feeling, that done to me belief that's come through from certainly my grandmother. I remember her using that kind of a phrase when I was a young teenager. Oh, it's done to me. I've got no control over it. No, you do. But it, you know, in those days, it wasn't recognized. Like I said, it wasn't talked about at all. But now we know, we understand that you can take control of this. You can, and this is why this is called My Menopause, My Way. Because I want to teach ladies that this is their menopause and they can do it their way. You don't have to fit into the box that society and all the other professionals tell you you've got to fit into, because you have much more control than you realize. So by helping them to work out what their triggers are, what is setting it off, as soon as they realize, they then begin to get control, which gives choice, which gives empowerment. And that is very, very important with these ladies. Because then so all of a sudden we are completely in control. Because quite often ladies can feel lost in the whole maelstrom. Now, when I generally talk, I am talking about that middle band of ladies that have got symptoms that are bothersome enough to want to call somebody to do something about it, but they're not that horrendously, oh my God, my life's almost over kind of feeling. The extreme is what I'm saying. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? Because there are ladies that come in the extreme, but we are looking at, as always in our profession, we are looking at those people in that nice middle band that need some help, and we are able to give that to them. Okay. So we are also looking at hormone balance. We are also looking at the imbalance, because what happens is when we go through menopause, your estrogen levels begin to drop, but your progesterone levels drop quicker. Okay. Now, progesterone and estrogen tend to balance each other out. So what one does, the other one counteracts. So it forms that balance. Okay. So when we start to drop the progesterone, the estrogen is dropping, but the progesterone drops a bit quicker, which is why we have an imbalance, which is why we experience some of the symptoms. So if we are eating healthily, for instance, we're eating good, nutritious food and not a lot of processed food, then you'll probably find that those are the ladies that have got a much better balance, and their experience of some of the symptoms are less than others. Does that make sense? Because it's what it is about. You know, they come out with that old phrase, don't they? What was it? You are what you eat. This is more important when we get to this age than ever before, because we have to give our body the help that it needs to produce the hormones. When we're in our 20s and our early 30s, we can get away with not anything, but we can get away with a lot. As we get older into our 40s and we go through menopause, you can't get away with anywhere near as much as you used to be able to, you know. As much as we'd like to think we could, we can't. So we are looking at vitamins and minerals to help the body. Now, there are a lot of them. There are quite a few in the book. What I've done is I've done some food lists. Now, food lists can be quite boring, so I've done this in a different way, where you have at the top, it's kind of like that. You have at the top some of the, now this is not all of the vitamins and minerals that the body needs, but it's a fair chunk of them. And then down the side here is the different foods that contain those ones. So where there's a dot, that particular bit of food or whatever food it is contains those vitamins and minerals, so it's easy to read. But we are looking at things like B6, the B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, omega-3 and vitamin C. Those are just a nice little cluster for you to take away with you tonight. Now, magnesium is one of my favourite ones to get, and magnesium is known to help with sleep, by the way, as well. So, you know, you have you go into your supermarket, you can get a nice little bag of Epsom salts, or in fact, sometimes they call them magnesium salts. I've just picked up a bag the other day. It's actually called magnesium salts or flakes. And you put a nice little cupful or a handful into the bath. You sit in the bath, you have time out, and your magnesium that you've just put in the bath is absorbed through your skin. So you're actually covering of two things with, you know, in one go. So you're absorbing some magnesium, helping yourself and your body to sleep, and you're also helping your symptoms because your body needs magnesium. Having a nice little relax and a little bit of time out for yourself. And that is important too, to make sure that you have time out for yourself. But this is why it's important that we make sure that we are eating a balanced diet, so that we're getting those B vitamins, we're getting the omega-3, because it is quite often recommended that we eat more fish as we get older. A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, Helen, fish, really? Do you have to?" No. I said, yeah, but you know, I'd actually, you know, you find as you go through menopause, your tastes change. A lot of women's tastes actually change. What they like before, they may not like after they've gone through menopause, and it could be the other way around. Things that they didn't like before, they suddenly have a liking for. And you know, and you also find that some intolerances might creep in as well, especially for dairy, where people, you know, may find that they have a bit of intolerance for milk or for cream. Cream seems to be quite a popular one that I come across. Oh no, I can't eat cream anymore, Helen. That makes me, oh no, it makes me sick. Gives me a really bad tummy. Well, simple answer is you either have try plant cream, or the same version with plant version, or you just stay away from it. But once you know that, then that puts you in the driving seat. When you don't know, that's when you're not in control. When you do know, you have the control. Do you see where I'm coming from with this? Do you see that? So we can have things like some of the triggers that people find, the common triggers. There's in the program I've listed 12 common triggers. We're not going to go through all of them today. I'm just going to give you a few. And these are things that we teach, or I teach clients to look for, to notice. Because there's a fine line here between really being aware and looking and actively seeking out and just noticing. Because if we're not careful, what we don't want to do is kind of trigger the law of attraction. What you focus on is what you get. So we've kind of got to get ladies to notice, oh yeah, actually, before I had that last hot flush, I was rushing around like a mad thing in the supermarket. As soon as I got to the till, within a couple of minutes, right, okay, so all I need to do is just slow down a tiny bit when I'm going around the supermarket. It is actually a thing, by the way. It was one of my triggers, that one. Was actually running around the supermarket like a woman possessed, because I was on a time limit. I was trying to squeeze too much into one day. Actually, not sure if they were doing, I don't think they'd started doing click and collect and home delivery. I don't think that had taken off just at that point. But as soon as I slowed down, I realised I wasn't actually getting those hot flushes by the time I got to because I was going that fast. I was round. By the time I got to the till, I'd slowed down. As soon as I slowed down, I dripping, red. Oh, I hate it when it goes down the back of your neck. That's horrible, that is. I'd be stripping off and taking all my jacket off, and so all those sorts. I didn't strip off. I just took a few layers off just to make sure that's clear. And of course, once I slowed down a little bit, I took a better pace. I still got through it quickly, the same time as I did when I was rushing, but there was no hot flush. So I became aware of that just to slow down a little bit. One of the other big things is alcohol. Now, that one doesn't affect me that much because I don't actually drink that much alcohol. It's not very often I have a drink. But for a lot of ladies, red wine is a massive trigger for a night sweat because they'd usually drink in the evening. So if they're drinking alcohol, and let's be clear here, it does not need to have much alcohol content for it to be a trigger. So if you've got something that's sort of like 1% alcohol, oh, that's nothing, is it? Or 0.5%, it could still be a trigger for you or your client. Alcohol can be a trigger. Red wine is a big one, closely followed by white wine. But to be fair, it can be any alcohol for anybody because everybody's triggers are going to be different. What I'm telling you is the common ones that I've found that reoccur quite frequently, red wine in particular. So you stop that for that night and the next night for a couple of nights. And if that is the trigger, that night sweat that it was triggering will stop, will magically disappear. If it's not, it'll continue. So you've then got to find out what else it is triggering. Okay. One of the other triggers is two hot things together, like a hot meal and a hot cup of tea. Two hot things. This was one of mine again. All of this stuff is stuff that I have worked on myself right back in 2012 onwards. Before I developed this program, I went through it all myself. So everything I'm telling you is stuff that I've experienced myself and learned for myself because it wasn't written down anywhere. So I discovered that when I was having my dinner in the evening and a cup of tea at the same time, within about 5 minutes of finishing, I'd suddenly go, boom. And then one day, for some reason, I can't remember whether I didn't have a drink or I had a glass of water. I can't remember. It was one of them. And I suddenly noticed that actually I've not had that hot flush that was usually plaguing me at that time. So I tried it again the next night. No hot flush. And it suddenly dawned on me that actually when I do that and that, it equals a hot flush. So again, when we make ladies aware that this is what is happening, suddenly I was in control of that hot flush. I had the choice. The same with alcohol. In fact, even more so with alcohol. Because once you know that red wine, beer, brandy, whatever it is causing that night sweat, that massive night sweat where you're waking up dripping and you've almost got to get changed and change the bed, that kind of a one, or whatever it is that you're having, suddenly you have the choice. I either do that, have that drink or whatever it is, but I now know what the possible consequence is going to be. So I can choose to either have it or not have it, or find something else that I enjoy that does not give me that night sweat. Does that make sense? Yeah. But can you see through that little bit of knowledge, just knowing that little tiny thing, what a difference it will start to make when you put all the little tiny things together, what a big difference it makes to you and to your client in front of you. Because all of a sudden they walked in not knowing, but now they walk out with knowledge. Knowledge is always power. Knowledge always means freedom if you use it in the right way. And when you're going through all those symptoms, you know, there's, like we said before, there's 42 symptoms. When you're going through those symptoms, when you can do something about a fair chunk of them, because they all have a knock-on effect. You alter one and it spreads out like, we can't see it there, like ripples on my lake that way. It spreads out. With hypnosis, it spreads out. We use the hypnosis to embed this stuff. We use the hypnosis to create a calmer mind, a more relaxed body and calmer mind, which again spreads out. It embeds these things that we're talking about. Bless you. It embeds that information, that command in the subconscious. No, we're going to be cool. We are cool. We're cool and calm. So the subconscious starts to change those beliefs, starts to change the thought patterns, because thoughts become things. If we think, oh, I'm going to be hot, I'm going to be hot, I'm going to be hot. Yeah, you're going to be hot. You know, it's like mindset is key. Mindset is always key. The way we think affects everything. So when we use the hypnosis in all of this mix, we're pulling it all together, helping it to be embedded in here, in the subconscious, wherever the subconscious is likely to be. We're really embedding it. We're instilling that different mindset of, do you know what? I've got control here. I have the power. I'm in control. I feel empowered. I feel really good. Because there's a lot of ladies that don't feel that way. There's a lot of ladies that feel, A, that it's being done to them, but a lot of ladies also feel lost because, you know, as a general perspective, by the time we get to menopause age, children, if we've had children, are all grown up and fled the nest or starting to flee the nest. So what do I do? Who am I now? Because for so many years, I've been mum, etc., etc., etc. So is this just the scrap heap? It used to be referred to as a scrap heap. What's going to happen? Well, actually, no. Now, this is your time. This time now is for you to shine, for you to discover your new self. Because years ago, this used to be called the change. When I grew up, it always used to be referred to as the change. Or if it was referring to men, midlife crisis, which meant, this sounds very wrong, but it used to mean you buy a new car, a sports car, or you have an affair. Seemed to be an excuse for one or the other. Now, I think that was probably, I don't even know how that came about, but I remember it being a thing when I grew up, when I was a teenager. It used to be, I remember one incident, it wasn't an incident, one particular moment, and I was at a supermarket checkout with my mum. And she was talking, she must have known the woman on the other side of the till. And they were talking about yes, well, it's this midlife crisis. He's having an affair, you know. And it used to be like that. I don't know whether it can't have been acceptable because I don't know, maybe it was. I'm not sure. We're talking back in the 70s, so things were very, very different then. But you know, this is that time when, as women, we can actually put ourselves first without feeling quite so guilty. Yeah, you see, I knew that'd resonate with you ladies. Because, you know, children have grown up, hopefully. They are independent. They need us in a different way. A lot of people will say they don't need me anymore. I will refute that. They do, but they need you in a different way. Does that make sense? You know, I do consider myself to be extremely blessed. I do. I have got two of the most wonderful children I could have ever hoped for, ever. My children are the best, all right, as all mothers will say, or most mothers will say. And I look at them some days and I think, I don't know how the heck you came to be like this. How did you get to be so great? I don't know, you know, but they don't need me like they did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. They need me differently. So I've got time for me to do my stuff, to do what floats my boat, what I'm interested in, to explore myself, to find out what I'm really about now, you know, because I'm a different Helen to what I was when I first started this journey back in 2012. I'm a different Helen to what I was 2 months ago. I think I'm on about version 4 of Helen this year in 24 at the moment. There's lots of different versions of me coming out, you know, it depends on your belief system. But, you know, we are all different people. If you think back through your life and you look at pictures, if you're married, if you look at your wedding photo and you look and go, my God, that was, that's a different me. It's almost like you look at a different person. Because you've changed so much, you've grown and changed so much through time. So now it's time to find who you are. What are you about now? Are you still interested in the same things you used to be interested? And this is one of the things that and this all comes about in natural conversation when we're working with people, you know, and it's that sudden realization, well, actually, yeah, I can do those things because now I have the time, I have the space. Yes, my son, my daughter, they still come in. Mum, can you, what about this? We just chat. It's not the same need. So I can be me. And it's quite an interesting discovery. And this is part of what we do with ladies. We are part of that journey of discovery when we start to make them aware of the things that they really can control. It has that lovely impact, a knock-on effect. And it's so worthwhile, gratifying. It's amazing to be part of that journey and to actually see somebody start to blossom and start to light up each time you see them. They change. their face changes. You start a conversation. I've got one lady that I'm working with every time. How are you doing with your hot flush? Oh, no, nothing's changed. This has happened, that's happened, this is coming back. Right, okay. So we have a chat, and as we're chatting, you could almost see, I can see the realization as we're talking just about life and what's been going on, all that sort of stuff. Oh, that happened, and that happened. Oh, right. Now I understand why I've had that hot flush at night, or that night sweat, or whatever. Because, right, it's what you were talking about before. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So this is just a little taste of what we actually do on the full training, which is a full day. Now, what I am going to do with you, now, if you want to, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm going to do a little bit of relaxation and give you an idea of some of the things that you can do with clients very simply, very easily. Okay? Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of relaxation. Do you want to do that? Okay. I think Bindu's already ready, look. So, if you want to just now, I'm going to do my best not to cough. I've done really well so far. So, if you want to just sit back in your chair, I'm just going to, just bear with me for a second. I'm just going to record this separately as well so that it's easier if anybody wants the actual hypnosis. In fact, actually, yeah, if anybody wants actual hypnosis recording. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Right. Are you ready? Just get yourselves nice and comfortable. Okay. So all I want you to do is just get yourselves nice and comfortable, just ready to take a few moments out to just relax and be. So take in a nice, big, deep inward breath through your nostrils. And just let it out through your mouth. Okay. And take in another nice, deep inward breath. And on the outward breath, you can allow your eyes to close if they haven't already. And just let go of any tensions from the day. That's it. And on this third inward breath, I want you to take in a real deep breath and just let go of any stuff that you just need to just let go of, whatever it may be. Just let it go. And you can feel yourself beginning to relax. And as your breathing begins to return to a comfortable rhythm, you can begin to feel yourself calming down, relaxing, drifting down and down. You can feel all of those tensions disappearing, drifting away, just drifting away. As your arms and your legs begin to feel comfortable, relaxed, especially those arms. They are always the first part to realize, oh, it's time to relax. Relax down so quickly. The rest of the body and the mind take a little longer, but the arms tend to lead the way. The mind can slow down for now. It's just some time out. The mind can just stop, just for a moment, where you just breathe and let go. That's it. And in your mind, because I know you have such a powerful mind, I want you to just imagine that you stood at the top of a set of steps, 7 steps that lead down. to a beautiful beach. So with every number that I say in a moment, you can go down a step. And every step you go down, you can feel comfortable more and more, deeper and deeper. So just step down now onto that first step, step 1, and just allow any thoughts to drift away. Just drift away. And 2, feeling more and more comfortable, more and more relaxed. And 3, calmer and cooler, drifting down. And 4, feeling all of those muscles just letting go and relaxing, those tensions disappearing. And that's it. And 5, feeling so peaceful, calmer, more relaxed. And 6, just noticing how lovely it feels to just be in that state of calm and relaxed. And 7, finding yourself now on a beautiful beach. And as you wander along down to the shoreline, where that lovely cool water curls around your toes, cools you right down. You can see the sun on the horizon as it sinks down. The beautiful pinks of the beautiful night sky. That lovely sunset is so perfect. It's almost like that pink across the sky. It's so intense. It becomes like a ribbon where it just wraps around you, soothing and cooling, helping you to feel wonderful, calm, and amazing. Cool and calm. And as that soft pink touches your skin, you feel a sense of love and peace. And as it wraps around, you feel cared for and loved. And as that begins to slowly drift away, and as you look at the night sky, you see there's a gorgeous orange, that beautiful flame red orange. You know the kind I mean. And as the pink floats back up to the sky and touches the orange begins to come down, and just like the pink, curls itself around, touching your skin, soothing you, and in a lot of ways re-energizing you. It's almost like your batteries are being recharged very quickly, an even quicker rapid charge than ever before. You feel a sense of energy, curiosity, and wonder for the world. You feel refreshed and new, and that soft touch around you gives you hope and joy. And as that slowly drifts away and touches the yellow that just tinges in at the bottom of the sky, that lovely soft yellow comes down and wraps round you like a friend, giving you a beautiful hug. Yellow brings joy and happiness and fun. And it feels so nice. All of those things mixing around inside. How wonderful is that? How amazing is that? And that lovely blue sky that's fading now fills you full of calm and peace. And how wonderful it feels as the sun continues to sink down and down, You feel cooler and cooler, calmer and calmer, more peaceful. As that sun begins to disappear, and you begin to walk back up the beach towards the now, as you feel cooler and calmer, bringing back with you that sense of peace and calm and coolness. As I bring you back towards the now. So 5, 4, feel the energy coming back in through your body. 3, 2, and 1. Feeling lovely and calm and cool. You can open your eyes. Okay. How did that feel, ladies? You can come off mute if you want to.
It's really nice and relaxing. Lovely.
Yeah.
Good, good. I'm pleased you did, B. So good. How did you get on, Emma? Because I could see you were a little bit, you were having a few little disturbances, shall we say?
Yeah, well, we're dog sitting and the dog kept coming in
Oh, that's
and
not
licking my
helpful.
hand that I had
Oh,
just, yeah, but yeah, I think because I've got so much going on in my head at the moment, I'm finding it really difficult to relax and not have a million things in my head. I definitely relaxed a little bit, which I've been unable to do. So it was definitely, I think if I did it a few times, I think I probably
Yeah.
would get to
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and I
And
wasn't
you're
expecting it, so
absolutely
I the door was open, the dog was coming in, and
You've got to love them for that, haven't you? Yeah, in your case, and it's the same with a lot of people, to be fair. We've often got a lot of stuff going on in the mind, but just like learning other skills, we have to train the mind. Now is the time when we start to slow down and we stop. You know, it's like that. We often, in hypnosis, we often refer to the mind as a 6-year-old child. We have to teach it to slow down. We have to teach it to stop. No, now is when I'm no, and you know, you have to constantly do it. I mean, I've been doing hypnosis for over 13 years, and I had a course of hypnosis back in 2010. So from there, I've been working very hard, and I still do every single day, on getting my mind to just be still and stop for a bit. And that is so very beneficial, but it's always a work in progress. But hypnosis does help. You've got to understand as well with this was only 8 minutes long. So it was a very short one. When I work with clients, it's usually somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. So that would probably suit you better because you've got a longer run into it. This is just an example. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So what I would aim to do, and if I forget, please do let me know. I will aim to put this on the recording, on the replay email when I send it out tomorrow, so you can listen to it again, and help yourself to sort of start to calm down. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Good. And that's the same for all of you. You can all listen to this, but just remember, you need to be as you are today, somewhere where you can sit back, close your eyes, and the world could just take care of itself for a bit, or the dogs. Okay, is there any questions? Is there anything anybody would like to ask?
Yeah, if somebody came to you with, which is a question I've had asked, or what can you do about my flushes? How long, other than a consultation at the beginning to possibly look at all these triggers, how long would you think, how many sessions would you need? Is it, I know I said how long's a piece of string, but because people always say, well, how many sessions will I need? How long is it going to take? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it is. What I recommend and what I do with my clients is I always recommend that they have 6 sessions
Right.
because it gives you a good amount of sessions to be able to do a thorough job.
Right.
Equally, you may find, let's say, for instance, you work with them on the first 2 or 3 sessions and their hot flushes and their night sweats have stopped. They've got to a place where they're really comfortable. That is great. We then start to look at what is, what else is going on around, because with menopause in particular, everything affects menopause. So if they've got an issue with confidence, we can work on that. If they've got an issue with stress levels, we can work on that. If there is something else going on, we can help them with that too. Equally, while they are still working with you, if they, for some reason,
Here to help. Get to know Siri at
sorry, that's Siri, and I have no idea why that popped up. If for some reason they come in one session and say, well, do you know what? Those hot flushes have started creeping back in again. You then have sessions available to be able to start, right, okay, let's work out what's changed, because that is part of their training. So that if symptoms start to creep in or increase, they're not going to just suddenly panic. Oh my God. They'll know what to do because you've been through it with them. Right, okay, let's look at what's changed then, because they had gone. So what is different now? What's changed? And something will have changed. This is where talking, just having a conversation, is gold, because that's when you find out what's gone on, because it may often be something that they haven't realized.
Yeah.
And it could be something not as small, but it could be something along the lines of there was a bit of upset at work a week or so ago. They thought they'd let it go, but actually when talking about it, you get the feeling, because you can tell with the emotion that comes out and the tone of their voice,
Right.
that actually they're still attached to that. So we need to get them to let it go. And then everything will start to go back to what the new normal was. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I recommend 6 sessions,
Okay.
because it gives you plenty of time, just in case somebody does really well and then they dip for a bit.
Yeah.
Because then it gives you the opportunity, and to be fair, it's a golden opportunity to help them come back up again, so that if it does happen once they've finished with you, they know what to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Thorough job. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Brilliant.
And if you are interested, if anybody is interested, the next live training is the 6th of July. So it's a week on Saturday. Okay. I will send out the replay tomorrow for you. So just keep an eye in your inbox. There'll be a link on to the replay and the recording. I'll put a link on for the recording too. Okay. Any other questions, ladies? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been an absolute pleasure spending an hour with you this evening, talking about my favorite topic. Let me just stop the recording there. No?